Good morning. Most of you already know me because I've been up here as worship assistant a number of times, but today is a little different. I've been asked to provide a faith statement and a little bit of background to tell you how my path was led here. I grew up in a small town in northwestern Ohio, Fremont. It's the home of two well-known individuals, Rutherford B. Hayes, our 19th president, and Charles Woodson, a Heisman Trophy recipient. I came along somewhere in between. While I'm neither a politician nor an athlete, my imprint has not been so indelible. Nonetheless, it was a good place to grow up and a solid foundation in a church, which was the First Presbyterian Church, and architecturally almost the same as this church, since they were built about the same time. The rich woodwork, the oak pews, and the baptismal font are very familiar. I married an Army officer and recalled the promise of Ruth to Naomi, "Whither thou goest, there also will I go, and where thou lodgest, there also will I lodge." Very noble and inspiring words. 18 times I unpacked those boxes. We moved that many times over a 25-year period of active duty. I guess they didn't collect quite as much in biblical times. However, 2 of those moves also brought a son born in Germany and a daughter born here at Fort Benning. The son is retired Air Force and living in Germany. He has never been in this church, nor has he met anyone from this church. However, he live streams the services because he admires the quality of the ministry. My daughter Leslie is a teacher in Smith Station and a deacon in this church. Several years ago, before relocating from Dayton, Ohio, I visited and attended the Christmas Eve services here. The beauty and familiarity of that worship confirmed any future plans I had of a church home. After my husband's death, I moved here 7 years ago, visited this church again, and immediately felt the hospitality and warmth of Christian fellowship. My daughter and I were warmly welcomed and joined almost immediately. I subsequently recommitted as a deacon and more recently was elected as an elder. But I began further involvement by volunteering along with several other members to tutor reading to inmates in the jail. Then, supported by some other churches, we serve weekly hot lunches to CSU students that in our facility right down the street, which is called the Abbey. Both of these ministries had to stop during the quarantine, but the Abbey has resumed to feed grateful students once again. Going back as a child in that Sunday school in Ohio, I loved the hymn, "This is my Father's world." This is my Father's world, I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, his hand the wonders wrought. And he shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. To be sure, there are so many places that God speaks to us, and we don't always listen. He spoke to me one day in a misty alpine meadow where cattle were grazing in their summer pasture. It was completely silent, except for the soft resonance of the bells around the necks of the animals as they gently moved. Peace I give to you. He spoke to me on the top of a dormant volcano in Hawaii very early one morning while we were awaiting the sunrise. First, the total blackness, then a soft glow, followed by a burst of light, and a brilliant semicircle began to rise over the horizon. This was not set up for tourists. This has taken place consistently since the creation to fulfill God's steadfast promise, let there be light. He spoke to me in the brilliant color of a New England autumn when the trees release their palette, the scarlet of the sugar maples, the gold of the oaks, and the deep greens of the pines. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. He speaks to me during springtime in the South, in the soft pastels of an April morning, the lavender of the wisteria, the white purity of the dogwood, and the delicate pale green of budding trees. He restoreth my soul. He speaks to me in this church. The classic architecture, the consistent quality of the music program and its leadership, the service itself with its familiar traditions, Danny's thoughtful teaching in his messages, and the handshakes and hugs of the congregation. This is my Father's world.